Good morning, Math 6. How y'all doing? Hope you guys are fine and dandy. Happy Monday. We are here with lesson 161, and today we're going to continue multiplying our integers, right? Positive and negative numbers, but we're going to include division in this process. We know that multiplying and dividing are inverse operations, right? If you want to undo multiplication, you divide, right? They're kind of backwards from each other. And so we're going to see how that works. So much as with multiplication, when we divide, let's say we are dividing a positive number by a positive number, well, that's going to leave us with another positive. Or if we had a negative number divided by a negative, much like in our last lesson, where we learned that a negative number times a negative number equals a positive number, right? This negative and that cancel each other out, and they become positive. But if we have a positive number divided by a negative, it's going to be negative, right? We need we need an even amount of negatives to cancel it out, much as if we had a negative divided by a positive, it's still going to be negative, right? I've got a couple of examples here, and then I'll write the rule down for you. So if we had negative 8 divided by 4, well, this is a negative divided by a positive, so I know my answer is going to be negative. And then 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay. Or for the next example, I've got negative 5 times negative 3. Well, a negative times a negative is going to be positive. And 5 times 3 is 15. So here is the rule. I mentioned it last time, but here it is again. For multiplying or dividing, even amount of negatives will equal a positive, whereas an odd amount of negatives will equal a negative number. So in this case, in this first example, I have an odd amount of negatives, right? I only have one. One is an odd number. So therefore, my answer is going to be negative. Whereas in this case, I have an even amount of negatives involved with multiplication, right? But if I had this times negative 1, negative 1 times negative 5 times negative 3, well, that's 1, 2, 3 negative numbers. That would make this negative. But that's not the case, right? Okay. All right, let's move on. So here are some division facts which we should be familiar with, right? So if I have, now you might say, Mr. Bulger, that's not division. Just follow me out. So again, I have an odd amount of negatives, right? I only have one negative number here. That's this negative 10. So therefore, my answer is going to be negative. And 10 times 3 is 30. So negative 10 times 3 is negative 30. Well, if we were to look at that in the form of division, negative 30 divided by negative 10, well, again, I've got an even amount of negatives now. So the answer is going to be positive 3. And again, look, these are all the same digits. They're just kind of worked around a little bit. So instead, I'm starting with my answer, my product from this first problem, but I'm starting there and dividing it by my negative 10. So in doing so, I'm left with the remaining digit in this fact, this multiplication fact. Well, then it just becomes kind of the inverse, right? That's why these are inverse operations, okay? Or if I were dividing it by 3 instead of negative 10, well, I'm still left with negative 10, and that's my remaining answer. Okay. Now, this next part, I'll have to do... Oh, I already put that down. Look at me, so smart. Okay, we're going to explain this picture. Okay, so let's say I've got... Oh, you could actually kind of see through that, so just pretend that you can. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la. Okay, so let's say I've got one of these algebra mats, and Ray, I could hear you go, it's okay, we could do this one step at a time. Okay, and I've got negatives over here and my positives over here. But let's say I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've got 12 spaces over here, but I'm separating them into 3 different groups. So I begin with 12, I'll call them negatives. Begin with 12 negatives and separate into 3 groups. Well, my groups are positive, whereas my digits are negative. So I only have 1 negative in this operation. So I'm separating, begin with 12 negatives. We call that negative 12. And I'm separating, separate is to divide, into 3 groups. Well, I have 1 negative involved, so I know it's going to equal a negative number. And how many are in each group? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, but these 4 are negatives. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la. Or if we work that backwards as multiplication, we could say if I had 4 negatives and I multiplied them by 3, I would get negative 12. Okay, guys, I hope this helps. If you do have more questions, please email me. Please don't hesitate. I get to them as soon as I can. Let me know. Otherwise, know that I love you, and I will be talking to you guys shortly. Bye.